Pokemon has always been more than just a series of games, cards, or an anime. From the moment it appeared in the 1990s, it captured imaginations worldwide. But with so many strange creatures, mysterious Pokedex entries, and unexplained details hidden in the games, fans began to ask questions. Over time, these questions grew into theories, some simple, some haunting, and some surprisingly believable. These fan theories connect dots between the games, the anime, and even real world myths. While none of them are confirmed as canon, they show how creative the Pokemon community can be. Tonight, we'll drift through some of the most fascinating theories ever imagined, explained slowly and in detail so you can let your mind wander while you fall asleep. A long-standing idea centers around Cubone, whose story is already tragic, with its Pokedex entries describing how it wears the skull of its deceased mother. Some fans claim that Cubone is actually a Charmander whose flame has gone out. The idea is that when a Charmander's fire is extinguished, it cannot survive. However, in rare cases, the Pokemon lingers on, its body changing into something new. That something is Cubone. Supporters of the theory note that Cubone's body shape is similar to Charmander's, with a rounded head, stocky build, and a long tail. The difference, of course, is that Cubone's tail lacks the flame. Instead of being full of energy, Cubone appears sorrowful and withdrawn, always mourning. Even the typing works with this interpretation. Charmander is fire, while Cubone is ground, a fitting contrast for a creature that has lost its burning life force and now dwells closer to the earth. This idea also ties into the haunting backstory of the Pokemon world, where many creatures are said to come from tragic circumstances. Cubone's lore about its mother fits here as well. Fans suggest that when a Charmander dies in the wild, its young may take the skull of its mother to survive, transforming into the new species entirely. While there is no in-game confirmation, the eerie similarities make this one of the more unsettling and memorable theories. One of the most enduring ideas from the community is that Ditto is a failed attempt to clone Mew. Both creatures share striking similarities. They have the exact same weight, very similar body shapes, and even the same color when you look at Ditto's shiny form compared to Mew's normal design. Most importantly, both are capable of using the move Transform, which allows them to mimic other Pokemon completely. No other species can do this naturally. Fans point to the Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island, where players first learn of the failed experiments that created Mewtwo. In the same area, Ditto can be caught in the wild, suggesting a connection. The idea is that scientists were trying to clone Mew, but most attempts failed, producing unstable pink blobs with no true form. These failures became Ditto, while the one successful attempt resulted in Mewtwo. Game Freak has never confirmed this theory, but the evidence is so strong that many players treat it as fact. It also explains Ditto's unusual role in breeding, since it can pair with almost any Pokemon, a side effect of being made from scrambled genetic material. Whether intended or not, this thought gives Ditto a place in Pokemon history that makes it more than just a simple filler creature. Among the most famous mysteries in the Pokemon series is Missing No, the glitch Pokemon found in Red and Blue. For years, players believed it was a secret creature hidden by Game Freak, and the theories surrounding it grew wild. Some thought it was a Pokemon that had been erased from the game at the last moment. Others believed it was a placeholder for an unfinished design, and some even treated it as a ghost of a lost Pokemon species. What made Missing No so legendary was that it behaved like a real creature, complete with a sprite, a cry, and battle stats. even though it was never meant to exist. Catching it could duplicate items, such as rare candies or master balls, which added to the myth that it was deliberately put there as a reward for curious players. While developers have explained that missing no was simply a coding quirk, the aura of mystery remains, and fans continue to treat it as a relic of the early days of Pokémon. Another well-known piece of fan speculation revolves around Ash and the idea that much of his journey is a dream. Some believe that when Pikachu shocks him in the very first episode, Ash actually falls into a coma and the rest of the series takes place in his subconscious. This theory explains why the world around him seems timeless, why he never truly ages, and why his adventures are filled with dreamlike encounters and fantastical events. Gym leaders and companions could be interpreted as reflections of his own psyche, with Brock representing guidance and Misty representing childhood innocence. The idea is eerie but compelling, and it adds an unsettling twist to a show that has always been marketed as lighthearted and fun. Even though this theory is never acknowledged by the writers, it has persisted for decades, becoming one of the most popular and chilling interpretations of the Pokémon anime. Another theory that has gained popularity is that Gengar is actually the ghost of Clefable. At first glance, the two species look very different, but when you compare their body shapes, the similarities become clear. Both have rounded ears, stubby arms, similar body sizes, and even matching poses in their early sprites. The theory suggests that Gengar is the dark shadow of Clefable, existing in a parallel space as its ghostly counterpart. This is further supported by their typing, with Clefable being a fairy in modern games and Gengar being ghost and poison, as if one is a twisted reflection of the other. Fans often point to how Gengar is mischievous, but not purely evil, mirroring how Clefable is playful and kind. The idea that one could become the other through death adds a grim undertone to both Pokémon, turning them into counterparts in life and afterlife. There is a long-standing belief among fans that Hypno is far darker than it first appears. Its Pokédex entries often describe it luring children away with its pendulum, suggesting a sinister side not usually seen in Pokémon. Some take this even further, claiming that Hypno represents childhood trauma or nightmares. The most chilling interpretation comes from the idea that the girl missing from the Fire Red and Leaf Green Games Lavender Town side quest was lured away permanently by Hypno. Though never confirmed, this eerie possibility makes Hypno one of the creepiest Pokémon in the series, leaving fans to wonder why Game Freak wrote such unsettling lore for a creature aimed at children. A popular interpretation surrounds the Pokémon Unknown, the strange letter-shaped creatures found in the ruins of Alph. Some players believe they represent more than just an alphabet. Their mysterious presence in ruins and the eerie music that plays when they appear suggests they are tied to ancient knowledge or even psychic energy that predates the Pokémon world. One theory claims they are fragments of Arceus's original power, scattered and weakened, with their letter shapes symbolizing the building blocks of reality. Because the games never fully explain their role, Unknown remains one of the most enduring mysteries, and this theory gives them a cosmic weight beyond their seemingly simple design. There is a curious idea about Dragonite, the friendly dragon from the Kanto region. While it is depicted as kind-hearted, some fans suggest its immense size and strength hint at something more dangerous. Stories within the games mention Dragonite being able to circle the globe in mere hours and being capable of creating violent storms when angered. A theory emerged that Dragonite is related to sea serpents and could be tied to legends of destructive dragons, making it less of a friendly giant and more of a barely contained natural disaster. Its unusual difference in design from its earlier forms, Dratini and Dragonair, has also fueled speculation that Dragonite was originally meant to be part of a different evolutionary line altogether. One of the stranger theories in circulation involves Jinx, a Pokemon whose design has stirred controversy for years. Some fans theorize that Jinx represents the Yama Uba, a supernatural witch from Japanese folklore said to live in snowy mountains and lure travelers to their doom. The human-like design of Jinx, combined with its ice and psychic typing, supports this interpretation. The unsettling resemblance to folkloric witches makes Jinx feel more sinister, and the controversy around its appearance only adds to the strangeness of its place in the Pokédex. Though it has since faded into the background of the series, Jinx's folklore-inspired mystery remains a haunting piece of fan speculation. A particularly well-known fan theory revolves around Gyarados, whose violent reputation has been linked to mythology. Magikarp evolving into Gyarados reflects an ancient story from Chinese folklore where a carp leaps over the Dragon Gate waterfall and transforms into a dragon. Some players believe Gyarados represents the dark side of this myth, not a noble dragon, but a furious and destructive beast. The red Gyarados in gold and silver feeds into this, with fans suggesting its rage is symbolic of humanity's interference with nature. This makes Gyarados less of a simple sea monster and more of a living myth with cautionary undertones. There's an unsettling thought about the Pokémon Parasect, the final form of Paras. Fans point out that the mushroom on its back is actually a parasitic fungus controlling the insect's body. By the time it evolves, the insect is essentially dead, and the mushroom is the true life form. The empty white eyes of Parasect add to this disturbing detail, suggesting that what players are commanding in battle is not the insect, but the fungus using it as a shell. This theory takes a piece of real-world biology, the cordyceps fungus, and applies it to Pokémon, turning Parasect into one of the most horrifyingly realistic monsters in the franchise. An idea that has been around since the early games is that Clefairy was originally intended to be the mascot of Pokémon instead of Pikachu. Some fans argue that traces of this plan can still be seen in the series, as Clefairy often appears in roles connected to the moon and cosmic events. The theory goes that Pikachu only became the mascot after the anime producers decided a yellow, electric Pokémon would be more marketable and visually striking. While this isn't just fan speculation but backed by interviews, fans take it further, suggesting that Clefairy's reduced role in the games was a deliberate shift to push Pikachu forward. This creates an alternate history in which the entire identity of Pokémon could have been very different. A widely discussed piece of speculation connects Shedinja, the husk Pokémon, with the idea of souls. When Nincada evolves, Shedinja appears in the player's party without explanation, described as an empty shell that steals the soul of anyone who peers inside. Some fans believe Shedinja is more than just a bug-type oddity. They suggest it is the discarded soul of the Nincada itself, animated by ghostly energy. This unsettling possibility explains its lifeless stare and eerie presence. The fact that players are warned not to look into its hollow body has fueled countless creepy interpretations, turning Shedinja into one of the most disturbing fan favorites. Another chilling theory focuses on Spiritomb, the Pokémon said to be made up of 108 spirits. The number 108 is significant in many cultures, often associated with sins or spirits in need of purification. Fans have suggested that Spiritomb is not just a collection of angry souls, but a prison created to contain ancient evils. The stone that binds it may have been placed by humans long ago, making Spiritomb a relic of a forgotten punishment. This gives it a backstory more sinister than most ghost types, elevating it from a curiosity into a symbol of ancient cruelty. Some fans believe that Zoroark from the Unova region is secretly connected to N, the mysterious leader of Team Plasma. The theory points out their shared green eyes, unusual hair, and the fact that N can understand the speech of Pokémon. Some go further, suggesting that N himself might be a human incarnation of Zoroark, or that he was raised by them, which explains his unusual bond with Pokémon. The fact that Zoroark is known for its illusions ties directly to N's manipulative tactics and the theme of deception in Black and White. While not confirmed, this theory remains one of the most beloved pieces of speculation about character Pokémon connections. The trio of legendary titans Regirock, Regice, and Registeel has inspired theories about their origin. Many players believe they represent the horrors of World War II, as their distribution in the Hoenn region matches areas associated with nuclear testing, and their designs reflect destructive weapons. Registeel resembles heavy machinery, Regice echoes the Cold War, and Regirock symbolizes raw, destructive force. Some even point to the Braille puzzles required to unlock them as a nod to humanity's attempts at secrecy and hidden knowledge. Though dark, this interpretation has fascinated fans who see the Titans as more than just elemental guardians. Another strange speculation comes from the Pokédex entries for Drifloon. It is said to carry away children who mistake it for a balloon. Some players believe this is not just spooky flavor text, but evidence that Drifloon represents a type of spirit created from tragedies involving children. This makes it not just a ghost Pokémon, but a reflection of human loss in the Pokémon world. The fact that its design is so innocent only makes the theory creepier, as it hides a chilling truth beneath its smiling face. There is a theory surrounding the connection between Lucario and the concept of aura. Fans believe Lucario represents the idea of spiritual energy and is closely tied to humanity. The theory suggests that aura is essentially the life force present in all beings, and Lucario acts as a bridge between humans and Pokémon. This is supported by the movie Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, where Lucario is portrayed almost like a knight or guardian figure. While aura is a mechanic in the games, this theory gives it deeper lore, connecting Lucario to ancient myths about energy and balance. The idea of Kangaskhan's baby being more than just decoration has been around for years, but some fans have taken it further. They believe the baby grows into Cubone after the mother dies, wearing her skull as protection. While this idea is haunting, it also neatly explains why Cubone's story is tied so heavily to loss. Even though official material never confirms this connection, the visual similarities between Kangaskhan's child and Cubone make the theory plausible enough that many fans accept it as hidden truth. One banned to another dimension for its violence, Giratina represents chaos and antimatter. This interpretation is supported by its Pokédex entries, describing it as violent and banished. Fans connect this to Arceus, the godlike Pokémon, suggesting a direct parallel between divine order and rebellion. Giratina's shadowy, dragon-like design only adds to the sense that it was meant to embody fear and power unlike any other. A curious interpretation connects Rotom to haunted objects beyond just appliances. Some suggest Rotom is actually the spirit of a mischievous child, based on its playful nature and tendency to possess toys and machines. This would explain why it seems to enjoy inhabiting objects used daily by humans, as if trying to relive a lost childhood. Its typing as electric and ghost supports this, a restless energy bound to the material world. While never confirmed, this theory paints Rotom as a much sadder figure than its silly design might suggest. Some fans believe that Arceus, often described as the creator of the Pokemon universe, may not be the true origin of everything. The theory suggests that unknown, those strange psychic letter-like creatures, are fragments of an even older force. Arceus is said to have shaped the world, but unknown are tied to language, thought, and existence itself. Their unusual powers and omnipresence in ruins hint at a deeper cosmic significance, with some arguing that Arceus could simply be the first Pokemon born from the chaos created by the unknown. While speculative, it reframes Arceus not as a lone god, but as one piece of a larger, unknowable mystery. Another chilling idea revolves around Lavender Town in the original Red and Green games. The music in Lavender Town was rumored to cause headaches, illness, and even darker effects among children in Japan, giving rise to what became known as the Lavender Town Syndrome myth. While this has been debunked, the rumor spread like wildfire, becoming one of the earliest internet creepypastas tied to Pokemon. The unsettling, high-pitched music, combined with the town's theme of death, made it fertile ground for urban legends, and to this day, many players report feeling uneasy when they hear it. There's a theory that Pikachu was originally intended to evolve differently than it does now. In early concept art, Raichu had a third evolution called Gorochu, with fangs and horns. Some fans believe the decision to cut Gorochu from the final games was because Pikachu had already begun to rise as the franchise mascot, and adding another form might have made it less approachable. The existence of Gorochu has been confirmed by Game Freak, which makes this theory feel less like speculation and more like a glimpse into an alternate timeline where Pikachu's line looked very different. Fans have long speculated about the mysterious nature of Ninetales, whose Pokédex entries often describe it as having mystical powers and lifespans of 1,000 years. Some theories suggest that Ninetales is tied directly to the concept of kitsune, magical fox spirits from Japanese mythology. In folklore, these foxes are said to grow more tails and power as they age, sometimes reaching 9 tails and achieving godlike status. This aligns perfectly with Ninetales' lore and typing. Some fans even believe Ninetales is one of the few Pokemon whose origins are directly mythological with almost no abstraction. Darkrai has inspired plenty of speculation due to its ability to cause nightmares. One unsettling interpretation is that Darkrai doesn't simply generate bad dreams, but feeds on them. Fans argue that this makes Darkrai parasitic, surviving by inducing fear in others. The idea is made more chilling by the fact that its counterpart, Cresselia, is tied to pleasant dreams. This duality suggests that Darkrai is not evil in the traditional sense, but dependent on misery in order to exist. It reframes Darkrai as tragic, existing only because of the suffering it creates. There's an eerie fan interpretation about Cubone that extends even further than the Charmander theory. Some fans believe Cubone's skull doesn't just belong to its mother, but is a ritual passed down generationally. In this version, every Cubone must wear a skull to survive, and the story about its mother is simply how humans interpreted this custom. This makes Cubone part of a long cycle of inherited mourning, and its entire species becomes a metaphor for generational grief. It adds a somber tone to an already heartbreaking design. Victini, the small legendary from Unova, is tied to a theory that it's far more powerful than its appearance suggests. Its lore states that it can provide infinite energy to anyone who possesses it, which fans argue could make it one of the most dangerous creatures in the franchise. Some believe Victini was deliberately hidden in the game's coding as a way to make it feel mythical and mysterious. Its association with victory has led some to call it the secret key to success in every major conflict, placing Victini quietly at the center of the Pokémon world's history. One unusual idea comes from the concept of the Safari Zone itself. Players are told to throw bait, rocks, and safari balls, but the mechanics don't always make sense. Some fans suggest the Safari Zone is deliberately broken, representing how wild Pokémon are unpredictable and uncontrollable. The bait and rock mechanics are believed to be psychological experiments by the game's designers, showing how people make irrational decisions when the outcome is uncertain. While clearly a stretch, this idea makes the Safari Zone seem less like a fun diversion and more like a study of randomness and human patience. A chilling speculation concerns Phantump, the small ghostly tree stump Pokémon from Kalos. According to the Pokédex, Phantump is the spirit of a child who died in the forest, reborn as a wandering Pokémon. Some fans take this further, believing that every ghost Pokémon may have originated as a human at some point. Yamask carries masks of its past face, and Phantump is explicitly said to be a child spirit. If this is true, then the line between humans and Pokémon is not as solid as we believe, opening unsettling questions about how many other ghost Pokémon share this fate. Another widely shared idea involves Eevee and its many evolutions. Fans often interpret Eevee as unstable DNA that can adapt to different environments. But some theories go further, suggesting that Eevee itself is a failed experiment to create an artificial Pokémon capable of transforming at will. The existence of so many evolution stones, tied directly to Eevee's branching forms, supports this idea. Rather than being a natural phenomenon, this interpretation presents Eevee as an accidental result of human meddling, which might explain why it has so many different paths. The weather trio from Hoenn Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza are often tied to myths about natural disasters. One theory proposes that these Pokémon are not just metaphors for earthquakes, floods, and storms, but were inspired by actual prehistoric events in the Pokémon world. The cataclysms caused by shifting land, rising seas, and violent weather would have been so destructive that ancient people personified them as Pokémon. This theory suggests that the legends of these three are not exaggerations, but historical accounts of natural disasters passed down through folklore. Fans have long wondered why Snorlax is always blocking roads in the early games. A fan theory suggests this is not just a quirky design choice, but a commentary on how people in the Pokémon world live alongside creatures without truly controlling them. Snorlax is too big to move without a Poké-Flute, and the fact that towns simply build around it hints that Pokémon exist outside human authority. This interpretation reframes Snorlax not as a joke, but as a reminder that people are not the dominant force in this universe. There's speculation that the Pokémon Deoxys is tied directly to the origins of life in the Pokémon world. Its description as a virus mutated by a laser beam has led some fans to theorize that Deoxys is connected to the very DNA that created all living creatures. If this is true, then Deoxys might not just be an alien, but the original ancestor of life itself, bringing genetic material to Earth-like worlds. This makes Deoxys less of a one-off legendary and more of a symbol of Pokemon evolution as a whole. An eerie idea surrounding Shedinja is that it doesn't just steal the soul of anyone who looks inside its shell, it actually collects them, building an unseen army of stolen spirits. This theory explains its ghost typing and why it is such an unsettling presence despite its simple bug design. It also reframes the act of catching Shedinja in the player's party as a kind of unspoken horror. By keeping it, the trainer has essentially captured a vessel of wandering souls. There is a popular fan idea that the legendary beasts Entei, Raikou, and Suicune are actually reincarnations of three Pokemon killed in the burning of the Brass Tower. While official lore supports this in part, fans have speculated endlessly about which Pokemon they once were. Some suggest they were Flareon, Jolteon, and Vaporeon, resurrected by Ho-Oh into stronger forms. Others argue they were ordinary Pokemon chosen at random. The lack of clear answers keeps this theory alive, with each generation of fans debating who the beasts might have originally been. The unsettling history of Yamask has fueled another disturbing theory. Since Yamask carries a mask representing its past human face, many players believe it confirms that Pokemon and humans were once the same species. This ties into Sinnoh's lore, which mentions that humans and Pokemon lived together as equals and even married one another in ancient times. Yamask, then, could be physical proof of this shared origin, blurring the line between human and monster in a way that makes the Pokemon world much stranger than it appears. Zygarde, the often overlooked legendary from Kalos, is said to monitor the ecosystem and punish those who disrupt balance. Some fans theorize that Zygarde is not a single Pokemon, but a collective consciousness of cells spread across the world. Its 50 and 100% forms may represent humanity's perception of it rather than its true self. This makes Zygarde less of a creature and more of a planetary defense system, manifesting when needed to restore balance. It is essentially the immune system of the Pokemon world, watching silently until it must act. A curious interpretation involves Necrozma, the prism Pokemon from Alola. Its story describes it as a being that once shone brilliantly before losing its light, forcing it to steal light from others. Fans believe this is a metaphor for depression, with Necrozma representing a once bright spirit consumed by darkness. Its need to absorb light is symbolic of someone desperately seeking hope and joy from those around them. This human interpretation has resonated with many fans who see Necrozma not just as a cosmic monster, but as a representation of real emotional struggles. Finally, some players suggest that Ash's endless journey through the anime is itself symbolic. Despite decades passing in the real world, Ash never truly ages, and his adventures reset with each new region. One interpretation is that Ash is an avatar for the player, frozen in eternal childhood to preserve the spirit of adventure. His timelessness isn't a mistake, but a deliberate design choice, making him a stand-in for everyone who grew up with Pokemon. There's a long-running belief that Mewtwo's creation was not the only successful experiment. While Mewtwo is described as the ultimate clone of Mew, some fans argue that other partial successes escaped or were hidden by the scientists. Ditto is often tied into this, but the theory suggests that there may have been other creatures, abandoned prototypes that never made it into the Pokédex. Missing No and other glitch Pokemon are sometimes interpreted as echoes of these failed experiments, scrambled data standing in for real creatures that once existed. If true, then the Pokemon Mansion's story is much darker than we think. with entire generations of experimental Pokémon lost to time. Fans of the Johto region have long speculated that the ruins of Alph hold secrets that even the games never explain. The inscriptions tied to the unknown hint at a lost civilization that may have worshipped them, and some believe these ruins predate even Arceus. The idea is that unknown were fragments of pure thought left behind from the very formation of the universe, and humans who discovered them treated them as divine messengers. This would mean that the Alph civilization's obsession with unknown was not random, but based on real supernatural encounters. In this sense, the ruins are not just dungeons, but ancient temples to the very forces that shaped reality. There is an unsettling speculation about Abra, Kadabra, and Alakazam. Some fans think the entire evolutionary line is based on a child who gained psychic powers. Kadabra's Pokédex entry even describes a boy who awoke with psychic powers one day and transformed into the Pokémon itself. If taken literally, this implies that humans can become Pokémon under extreme circumstances. Fans who believe this theory argue that the Abra line is the strongest evidence that the boundary between humans and Pokémon is not as distinct as it seems. It is a haunting thought that powerful psychic energy can rewrite a human body into something entirely new. Another theory involves the weather trio from Hoenn Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza. Their battles in the games are depicted as massive natural disasters, but some fans believe they are metaphors for climate change. Groudon represents expanding land and droughts, Kyogre stands for rising seas, and Rayquaza symbolizes the fragile balance that holds the two forces apart. Seen this way, their battles aren't just epic showdowns, but allegories about humanity's struggle with the environment. The fact that these Pokémon are worshipped in myths reinforces the idea that ancient civilizations may have lived through such catastrophes, inspiring legends that were passed down for generations. In Sinnoh, Giratina is one of the most fearsome legendaries tied to the distortion world. Fans often interpret this alternate dimension as more than just a strange place. They see it as Pokemon's version of the afterlife. Giratina then becomes a god of death, exiled by Arceus for its violence. The theory suggests that Giratina is a necessary counterbalance to creation, ensuring that death exists to make room for new life. Its unsettling design, dragon-like with shadowy wings, only reinforces this role. This interpretation transforms Giratina from a villainous figure into a guardian of the natural cycle, feared because of what it represents but vital to the balance of the world. The theory about Cubone being linked to Charmander has an alternate version many fans prefer, where Cubone is the orphaned offspring of Kangaskhan. The idea is that when a Kangaskhan mother dies, its baby grows up wearing her skull, evolving into a completely different line. This theory gained traction because early sprite designs for Kangaskhan's baby look very similar to Cubone. While Game Freak has never confirmed this, players see it as a compelling hidden story that ties three otherwise unrelated Pokémon together. It also explains why Cubone's Pokédex entries consistently focus on grief and loss. Another eerie fan idea centers on the Pokémon Banette, the ghostly doll. Banette's backstory describes it as a toy abandoned by its owner, now cursed with hatred and seeking revenge. Fans interpret this as evidence that human emotions can directly create Pokémon. If abandonment and anger can give life to a forgotten doll, what other objects in the Pokémon world might secretly be alive? Banette's haunting lore blurs the line between man-made items and living creatures, suggesting that the world of Pokémon is full of hidden souls waiting for an outlet. Some speculate that Ash's timeless nature in the anime isn't just a storytelling convenience. They believe he may be immortal, chosen by Ho-Oh in the very first episode. When Ash sees Ho-Oh flying above, the Pokédex describes it as granting eternal happiness to those who witness it. Fans interpret this to mean Ash was granted eternal youth, forever traveling through regions without aging. This explains why decades of real-world time pass, but Ash never grows older, keeping him as a perpetual symbol of childhood adventure. A theory about Gengar paints it as the literal shadow of another Pokémon. Some fans suggest Gengar is not just related to Clefable, but is its shadow-given form. The silhouette similarities support this, as do their contrasting typings. Gengar is Ghost, and Poison, a dark mirror to Clefable's fairy type. The idea is that in a world where life and death overlap, some Pokémon exist as counterparts to others. Gengar becomes more than just a mischievous ghost. It is the living reflection of another creature's soul, turned sinister. The Pokémon Shedinja has long intrigued players because of how it mysteriously appears in the party after Nincada evolves. Its Pokédex entry warns that anyone who peers inside its shell will have their soul stolen. Fans interpret this literally, claiming Shedinja collects human souls like trophies. The eerie part of the theory is that every player who has ever looked at Shedinja's sprite may have lost something to it. It is one of the few Pokémon that feels more like a horror story than a battle companion, giving it an aura unlike any other creature in the series. In Kalos, there's a theory that the war mentioned in X and Y wiped out not just humans but entire Pokémon species. The ultimate weapon, built by AZ, is said to have immense destructive power. Some fans argue this explains why there are so many extinct Pokémon revived as fossils. The weapon may have triggered mass extinctions, leaving only traces of certain species for future generations to uncover. This interpretation ties the game's lore to real-world history, where wars often devastate environments and lead to lasting consequences. Another disturbing interpretation concerns Drifloon, the balloon-like ghost Pokémon. It is said to lure children away, mistaking them for playthings. The theory goes further, claiming Drifloon is formed from the souls of children lost in tragic accidents, which is why it is drawn to others. This makes it a grim echo of human tragedy, and its innocent design only adds to the unease. Drifloon is one of the best examples of how the Pokédex hides horror beneath cute appearances. Fans of the anime sometimes suggest that Brock's constant presence as a caretaker figure is intentional symbolism. While Ash and Misty embody youth and growth, Brock is the stabilizing fatherly role representing guidance and maturity. His repeated returns after absences reinforce this, as if he is always destined to be Ash's protector. This interpretation transforms Brock from comic relief into a symbolic guardian, ensuring Ash's journey remains balanced. Some believe that Marshadow, the ghostly fighting type from Alola, represents the hidden fears inside a person. Its ability to lurk in shadows and copy others is seen as a metaphor for jealousy or suppressed emotions. Marshadow's secretive nature and its association with darkness make it a symbol of the parts of ourselves we hide from the world. This theory elevates Marshadow from an obscure, mythical, to a representation of something deeply human. There is a theory about Hydreigon, the three-headed dragon from Unova, that interprets its design as the stages of war. With each head representing destruction, Hydreigon becomes a metaphor for violence unchecked. Its Pokédex entries already describe it as consuming everything in its path, and the fan theory extends this to suggest it was inspired by stories of endless wars in human history. This makes it not just a dangerous Pokemon, but a symbol of humanity's darkest impulses. Finally, there's a lighter theory about Rotom, often depicted as inhabiting household appliances. Some fans think Rotom represents the playful spirit of technology itself, embodying humanity's relationship with machines. By possessing everyday tools, Rotom reminds players that technology in the Pokemon world is alive, unpredictable, and sometimes mischievous. It reframes Rotom not as a simple gimmick Pokemon, but as a metaphor for the way technology evolves alongside people, shaping daily life in unseen ways. One unsettling interpretation revolves around the Pokemon Shedinja. While its Pokédex already states that it steals the soul of anyone who peers into its hollow body, fans expand this idea, suggesting that every Shedinja actually carries fragments of countless stolen spirits within it. This makes it a vessel of torment, floating quietly while containing a chorus of lost lives. Its sudden appearance in a player's party when Nincada evolves reinforces this eeriness, as though the trainer has unknowingly invited a cursed spirit into their team. Instead of being simply a bug Pokemon, Shedinja becomes a reminder that not all Pokemon are meant to be trained. Some exist as chilling echoes of death itself. Another dark theory centers on the Pokemon Yamask, which carries a mask that represents its face from when it was human. Some players take this literally, concluding that Yamask are created from dead humans who were transformed after death. If this is true, then ghost Pokemon may not be a separate species at all, but reincarnated people given new forms. This idea ties into Sinnoh's myth that humans and Pokemon were once the same, and suggests that death is the point at which the two paths meet again. It makes the Pokemon world unsettlingly close to ours, where the line between humanity and Pokemon is not so distinct. There is a theory that the Pokemon known as Kangaskhan's baby is more than just a design flourish. When separated from its mother, fans believe the child grows up to become Cubone, using its mother's skull as protection. This idea ties the evolutionary lines of Kangaskhan and Cubone together, creating a story about loss and survival that has haunted fans since the early days of Red and Blue. The eerie similarity in design between Kangaskhan's baby and Cubone adds fuel to the speculation. Even though Game Freak has never acknowledged the connection, many players accept it as an unspoken truth, making Cubone's backstory even more heartbreaking. Fans also speculate about the Pokemon Parasect, whose mushroom parasite takes over its insect body. Some believe that when Paras evolves into Parasect, the insect truly dies, leaving only the fungus alive. The theory goes further by suggesting that Parasect is not just controlled by the fungus, it is the fungus, using the lifeless shell of the bug as a disguise. Its lifeless white eyes support this disturbing idea. The unsettling realism of this theory, based on the cordyceps fungus in the real world, makes Parasect one of the most terrifyingly grounded Pokemon in the franchise. Another strange speculation ties into the legendary Pokemon Ho-Oh. In the very first episode of the anime, Ash sees Ho-Oh flying overhead, and the Pokédex describes it as a being that grants eternal happiness to those who witness it. Some fans believe this moment granted Ash eternal youth, explaining why he never ages throughout the series. This interpretation turns Ho-Oh into a godlike figure, not just reviving Pokemon like the legendary beasts, but altering the course of a human life. It provides a mystical explanation for Ash's endless journey, where decades of real-world time pass, but he remains the same 10-year-old boy, There is a theory about Ditto and its relationship to Mewtwo. While many believe Ditto is a failed clone of Mew, some fans suggest it was intentionally created as a tool for cloning experiments. Its ability to transform into any Pokemon may have been the original test of the cloning process, and Ditto's unstable form reflects its prototype nature. This idea makes Ditto less of a random blob and more of a deliberate scientific creation, one that quietly lingers in the Pokemon world as evidence of humanity's attempts to control genetics. A popular fan speculation involves Lucario and the mysterious power of Aura. Some believe Aura is not just a battle gimmick, but the essence of life itself, connecting humans and Pokemon at a spiritual level. Lucario's ability to sense and control this energy makes it less of a fighter and more of a sage-like figure. The theory expands this to suggest that ancient civilizations may have used Aura to communicate with Pokemon and even to build parts of their society. Lucario, then, becomes not just another Pokemon but the last remnant of a deeper bond between humans and the creatures of their world. An eerie thought concerns Phantump, the ghostly tree stump Pokemon from Kalos. According to the Pokédex, it is the spirit of a child who died in the forest. Some players take this a step further, claiming that every ghost-type Pokemon may originate from humans who died tragically. Yamask carries the mask of its human past, and Phantump directly links to the soul of a lost child. If so, then every ghost Pokemon could be evidence of human reincarnation. This chilling possibility reframes ghost Pokemon not as monsters, but as lingering people trapped in new forms, forever tied to the places where they died. The Pokemon X and Y storyline introduced AZ, a king who used the ultimate weapon to end a war, wiping out countless lives. Fans theorize that the immense power of this weapon explains the large number of fossil Pokemon found in later generations. The idea is that the weapon caused mass extinction, destroying entire species and leaving only remnants buried in stone. This makes fossil Pokemon not simply ancient creatures from natural history, but victims of war whose lives were cut short by human conflict. It adds a tragic dimension to every revived fossil Pokemon, tying them back to Kalos's dark past. There's a theory about the Pokemon Gengar that goes beyond its connection to Clefable. Some believe Gengar is the shadow of any living creature, able to manifest when darkness overtakes its counterpart. Its mischievous nature reflects the hidden impulses inside us, the part of every being that wishes to cause chaos. This would explain why Gengar enjoys playing tricks on humans and Pokemon alike. It is the literal embodiment of suppressed urges. Seeing Gengar as a living shadow gives it an almost mythological role, one that makes it feel more significant than a simple ghost type. Some fans speculate that Arceus is not the true god of the Pokemon universe, but one of many godlike entities. They point to other beings like Giratina, Palkia, and Dialga as evidence that creation was not a solo act, but a collaborative or competitive one. Arceus may be the one remembered in myth, but others could have shaped reality alongside it, or even opposed it. The presence of unknown, enigmatic beings tied to language and existence itself supports this interpretation. This makes Arceus less of a single, omnipotent being and more of a figure in a pantheon, one of many forces that shaped the Pokemon world. Another curious interpretation surrounds the Pokemon Rotom, which can inhabit appliances. Some fans think Rotom is the spirit of a mischievous child who passed away, which explains its playful nature and tendency to inhabit toys and machines. Its ghost typing fits this idea, making it less of a quirky, electric type, and more of a symbol of lost youth. By possessing household items, Rotom might be trying to relive parts of a life it no longer has. This theory transforms Rotom from a gimmick Pokemon into one of the saddest, masking tragedy with humor. The Pokemon Regigigas, the leader of the legendary Titans, is said to have moved continents with ropes. Fans speculate that this description is not literal but symbolic. Regigigas may represent ancient tectonic shifts where landmasses moved to form the continents we know today. The myth of it dragging land into place could be humanity's attempt to explain geological changes beyond their understanding. Regigigas becomes a stand-in for natural forces, elevated into divine status through myth. This aligns with how many legendary Pokemon reflect aspects of nature, blurring the line between science and folklore. A strange but fascinating idea concerns Xerneas, the life-giving legendary from Kalos. Some believe Xerneas is not a single Pokemon, but a cycle of rebirth, where each Xerneas eventually dies and a new one rises in its place. This would explain why its lore describes it as sharing eternal life, not because it never dies, but because its spirit reincarnates endlessly. This turns Xerneas into a representation of the cycle of life itself, always returning to continue its role as the guardian of vitality. Evatail, Xerneas's counterpart, has a similarly unsettling interpretation. Its Pokédex entries describe it as absorbing life force when its wings and tail spread wide. Fans suggest that it is not just a destroyer, but a balancing force to Xerneas. Every time Xerneas brings life, Evatail must bring death, maintaining equilibrium. This interpretation reframes the pair not as opposites, but as partners, forever locked in a cycle of giving and taking, like yin and yang. It turns them into one of the most symbolic duos in the franchise, embodying the eternal struggle of life and death. Finally, there is a theory about the Pokemon Eternatus from Galar. Some believe Eternatus is not native to the Pokemon world at all, but an alien parasite. Its gigantic form and ability to cause Dynamax phenomena are seen as unnatural, imposed upon the ecosystem rather than born from it. This theory suggests Eternatus is a foreign invader, a cosmic horror that infected the world and warped it with its energy. If true, Eternatus is not just a legendary, but a symbol of contamination, representing forces from beyond that threaten the balance of nature. Some fans believe that Mew, the supposed ancestor of all Pokemon, is not truly the beginning, but instead the last survivor of an ancient species. Its small, playful design hides the idea that it may be the remnant of countless extinct Pokemon, containing the DNA of them all. The theory goes that Mew survived through adaptability, while its siblings perished. That would explain its ability to learn nearly every move and why it was hidden so deeply within the games. Rather than being the first, Mew may be the last. Another speculation connects Deoxys with the origins of life itself. Its description as a virus mutated by a laser suggests extraterrestrial origins, but some fans think Deoxys is the very same virus that gave birth to life on Earth-like planets. In this interpretation, Deoxys is not just an alien, but the spark that began Pokemon evolution. Its strange crystalline body is a symbol of mutation and adaptation, standing as the embodiment of survival through change. There is a chilling theory about Abra and its line. Kadabra's Pokédex famously mentions a boy who woke with psychic powers and transformed into the Pokemon. Some fans argue that the Abra line represents humans transforming into Pokemon permanently, a rare but possible event. If so, then psychic Pokemon are not a separate species but evolved humans. This makes every encounter with them less of a battle and more of a glimpse into what people could become under the right conditions. Fans also speculate about the Pokemon Jirachi, the wish granter. While it is said to wake every 1,000 years to grant wishes, some believe its gifts come at a cost. Jirachi may grant desires in twisted forms, leading to regret. This theory paints Jirachi less as a benevolent fairy and more as a genie-like figure, where wishes are dangerous bargains. Its rarity only adds to the unease, since players never truly know if Jirachi's powers are blessings or curses. Another theory involves the Pokemon Guzzlord from Alola. Its enormous size and endless hunger make it seem monstrous, but some fans think Guzzlord is not evil at all. It is a natural force of destruction, like a black hole. This interpretation places Guzzlord as a living void, consuming endlessly, not by malice but by design. The chilling part is that the Pokemon world treats it as a beast, when in reality, it may be a glimpse of cosmic inevitability. There is a belief that the legendary birds, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, are not truly unique individuals, but species. Each generation of humans may encounter different birds, leading to the myth that they are eternal. The variations in their strength across the games support this interpretation. If true, then the legendary birds are less like singular gods and more like ancient lineages passed down through time, appearing as symbols of nature's cycles. A lighter theory concerns Pikachu's popularity. Some fans think Pikachu's role as mascot was never random, but guided by Ho-Oh's blessing to Ash in the anime. The idea is that Ho-Oh ensured Pikachu became central to the story, reshaping the world so that this one small electric mouse would become iconic. While clearly fanciful, the theory reframes Pikachu's global fame as destiny rather than marketing, a divine choice in the Pokemon universe. There is speculation about Hydreigon, the terrifying three-headed dragon. Its destructive nature, described as consuming everything, has been interpreted as a metaphor for humanity's wars. Each head represents violence, famine, and death, making it a living embodiment of destruction. Fans suggest that Hydreigon's design was inspired not only by dragons, but by historical symbols of endless conflict, giving it a deeper, darker meaning than most Pokemon. Fans of Kalos often return to the mysterious eternal flower Floette, while never officially released. Some believe this unique form represents grief itself. Given to AZ, the Eternal King, it is said to be tied to sorrow over the war and the loss it brought. The theory goes that Eternal Flower Floette was hidden from players because it symbolized too much pain, a constant reminder of loss. It becomes less of a collectible and more of a relic of tragedy. Another idea involves Kyurem, the frozen dragon of Unova. Its empty shell-like appearance led fans to speculate that it is the corpse left behind when Reshiram and Zekrom split from a single dragon. This explains its hollow, broken form and why it seems incomplete. In this interpretation, Kyurem is not just another legendary, but the leftover remains of something greater, a reminder that even gods can be shattered. Some players believe the Pokemon world is actually post-apocalyptic. The existence of ruined cities, advanced technology found in strange places, and hints at wars all suggest that humans rebuilt after a great collapse. Pokemon may have thrived in the aftermath, filling ecological niches left behind. This theory explains the odd mix of primitive villages and futuristic machines, painting the world as one of rebirth after disaster. There is a chilling idea about Hypno and Drowsy. While Hypno's Pokédex entries are already unsettling, some fans speculate that Drowsy's mention of eating dreams connects directly to Hypno's abductions. The theory suggests that children who fall victim to Hypno are transformed into Drowsy, beginning a cycle of predation and transformation. This would explain why Drowsy is connected to humans in its lore, and why Hypno's role is so sinister. Fans also discuss the possibility that the Pokemon world and ours are not separate. The references to real animals like birds, fish, and even elephants in early Pokédex entries suggest the two worlds may overlap. Some speculate that Pokemon replaced animals over time, evolving to take their place, which is why humans in the games eat Pokemon-derived food. This makes the world of Pokemon less fantastical and more like an alternate version of our own history. A strange interpretation of Zoroark claims that it is not simply an illusionist, but may be the origin of all myths in the Pokemon world. Its ability to disguise itself could explain why humans created stories about gods, monsters, and strange creatures. Every legendary encounter could be a Zoroark projecting illusions so powerful they shaped culture. While extreme, this theory makes Zoroark one of the most influential Pokemon ever, hiding in plain sight as the architect of myths. Another idea centers on Solgaleo and Lunala, said to represent the sun and moon. Some fans think they are not true legendaries at all, but avatars created by Necrozma. Their designs and roles support this, as they seem like offshoots of its light and shadow. If so, then Solgaleo and Lunala are less divine beings and more like fragments of a greater entity, existing only because Necrozma created them. There is speculation that Calyrex, the regal Pokemon from Galar, is not just a guardian of harvests, but a remnant of an ancient ruler. Its crown and staff-like form suggest kingship, and fans think it may once have ruled over humans directly. The legends about its lost power could reflect the decline of divine kings in human society, leaving Calyrex a diminished relic of a bygone age. A strange thought involves Tapu Lili from Alola. Said to be both a guardian and a trickster, Tapu Lili's lore suggests it enjoys causing mischief while pretending to help. Some fans interpret it as a symbol of duality in nature, showing that not every force of good is purely benevolent. This makes the guardian deity less of a protector and more of a reminder that balance often comes with both kindness and cruelty. One of the eeriest theories surrounds Gimihul from Paldea. Its ghostly design tied to coins has led players to believe it represents greed itself. Some suggest that people who hoarded wealth in life were transformed into Gimmighoul after death, cursed to collect coins forever. Its evolution into Koldingo, a creature made entirely of gold, reinforces this theme. Rather than a silly gimmick, Gimmighoul may be one of the most symbolic Pokemon, representing the dangers of endless greed. Finally, there is a theory about Ash's entire journey. Some believe the series is not meant to be taken literally, but is the story of a boy's imagination after being struck by Pikachu's lightning. Every adventure, every legendary, every companion is part of his dream world while he lies unconscious. This theory explains the timelessness, the surreal encounters, and the constant resets. Though dark, it has persisted for decades as one of the most popular and unsettling interpretations of the anime. And that brings us to the end of 100 Pokemon fan theories, each weaving together pieces of lore, gameplay quirks, and unsettling possibilities. Whether or not any of them are true, they show the creativity and imagination of the community that has grown around this world. From haunting ideas about ghost Pokemon to cosmic speculations about the legendaries, These stories give depth to the games and anime beyond what is shown on the surface. As you close your eyes and drift into sleep, may these theories linger like gentle dreams, reminders that sometimes the mysteries left unsolved are what make Pokemon feel so timeless.